This French missile costs millions of dollars, yet a single strike can wipe out hundreds of millions of dollars worth of military equipment. So why has the Scalp become one of the most feared weapons Russia faces in Ukraine? The answer is far more impressive than you might imagine. For a long time, Russian bases located far behind the front lines seemed completely out of Ukraine's reach. Aircraft took off from them every day, thousands of tons of ammunition were stored there, and command centers coordinated military operations with what appeared to be complete confidence. Then everything changed. The day the first Scalp missiles entered the battlefield, that sense of security began to disappear. The Scalp is not a missile designed to create spectacular explosions for their own sake. Its real strength lies somewhere else. It doesn't strike often, but when it does, the consequences can be felt for weeks, sometimes even months. And that is exactly what worries Russian military planners the most. Unlike missiles designed to support troops directly on the battlefield, the Scalp targets the very heart of an enemy's military system. It is not primarily hunting tanks or soldiers on the front line. Instead, it attacks what allows an entire army to keep fighting. Imagine an enormous machine operating with perfect coordination. Soldiers, armored vehicles, fighter jets, warships. Everything depends on a complex logistical network. Now imagine a single missile destroying one of the most critical links in that chain. That is exactly the philosophy behind the Scalp. But that's only the beginning, because this missile possesses a capability that makes it exceptionally difficult to stop. And once you understand how it works, you'll understand why it can reach targets that many believed were completely protected. After launch, the Scalp flies at extremely low altitude. It follows the contours of the terrain, weaves around natural obstacles, and minimizes its radar signature, making detection far more difficult. For air defense systems, the reaction window becomes incredibly short, and by the time the missile finally approaches its target, it is often already too late. Using a highly sophisticated guidance system, the Scalp compares the terrain beneath it with detailed digital maps stored in its memory, constantly adjusting its course to achieve remarkable accuracy. But its greatest strength is not precision alone, it's the choice of targets. And this is where the missile becomes truly devastating. Instead of striking randomly, every Scalp is usually reserved for a target whose destruction could influence the course of military operations. A fuel depot, a command headquarters, an air base, a fortified underground bunker, or a massive ammunition storage facility. When just one of these strategic assets is destroyed, it is not simply another building disappearing from the map. Sometimes it represents weeks or even months of military preparation erased in a matter of seconds. And that kind of strike often has a far greater impact than dozens of attacks carried out directly on the battlefield. Russia understood this very quickly. Following several long-range strikes attributed to Scalp missiles and their British counterpart, the Storm Shadow, Russian forces reinforced some bases, relocated others, and moved aircraft, ammunition stockpiles, and command centers farther away from the front. At first glance, that may not seem like a major development. In reality, it is exactly what weapons like the Scalp are designed to achieve. Because the farther an army pushes its logistics away from the battlefield, the more difficult every operation becomes. Supply trucks must travel longer distances, deliveries take more time, fuel consumption increases, maintenance becomes more complicated, every mission becomes more expensive. In other words, without directly attacking frontline troops, the Scalp can slow down an entire military campaign. And that's not all. Its specialized warhead is engineered to penetrate hardened structures before detonating. Fortified bunkers, underground command centers, and heavily protected military facilities suddenly become far more vulnerable than they appear. This combination of long-range, stealth, precision, and penetrating power is what transforms the Scalp from just another cruise missile into a true strategic weapon. But another question naturally follows. If the missile is so effective, why doesn't Ukraine launch them every day? The answer is simple. Each Scalp missile is an extremely valuable resource. They are expensive, produced in limited numbers, and every launch is carefully planned based on intelligence and strategic priorities. In other words, when a Scalp is fired, it is almost never against a secondary objective. It is usually because military planners believe they have a rare opportunity to eliminate a target whose destruction could reshape the battlefield. And that may be what makes the French Scalp much more than just another missile. It has become a weapon capable of forcing an entire army to rethink its plans, relocate its assets, strengthen its defenses, and reorganize its logistics. Ultimately, the true power of the Scalp is not measured only by the explosion it creates. Its greatest strength is measured by what it forces its enemy to do before it is even launched.